for coming for this Sunday feast program at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We welcome all of you with a grateful heart. We're all Mahatmas assembled here to glorify the Lord. So we'll start with reciting this beautiful prayer and poem which Srila Prabhupada always recited before starting his classes. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Shatarini Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jai Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Mahaprabhu 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 Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Hare Krishna. We'll start with Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We'll start with the Mangala Charan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. We'll read from this beautiful verse from the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, verse 32. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna Sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna Sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna Sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Volunteers to recite so we can all memorize this verse. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna
sayogi paramo mataha.
Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha.
Samopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna.
Yadi va dukkham
Sukham va yadi va dukkham
sayogi paramo mataha.
sayogi paramo mataha. We'll read the word-to-word meaning. Atma, with his self, upamena, by comparison, sarvatra, everywhere, samam, equally, pashyati, sees, yaha, he who, Arjuna, O Arjuna, sukham, happiness, va, or, yadi, if, va, or, dukkham, distress, saha, such, yogi, a transcendentalist, paramaha, perfect, mataha, is considered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Arman, you want to read the purport with the mic?
One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God, and the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Na cha tasman manu siesha kaschin me priya kritama. Bhagavad Gita 18.69. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi. Here's a contrast between the pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Read the translation once again. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Indradimna Swamanita Namane Namo Prabhupada Priyadasaya Jagannatha Yatrananda Murte Bhakta Sukaya Krishnot Kirtanena Narshingena Rakshitaya Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamanita Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarane. Yeah. Thank you all for coming once again. It's such an august assembly of devotees here who are exemplifying the concept of selfless service that's described in these verses. I can see all around such exalted devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating Krishna consciousness, as this verse says, um, the devotees work for the welfare of all the living beings. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way he is factually the friend of everyone. So it's such an appropriate verse for the devotees at ISV who are exemplifying this mode of Sankirtan. So the basic idea is we are all trying to be happy in this world, and we are all trying to be happy in different ways, and some work and some don't. And our life's goal is to learn the lessons from what works and what doesn't work, and then keep improving on our journey to find the ultimate happiness that we are all seeking. And the Bhagavad Gita gives a lot of knowledge in helping us understand why some things are not working and why some things are working, and then help us change our conception of life as to how we can be happy. So the verses preceding this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how a devotee who sees Krishna in everything is so advanced. And then here he says, Paramomataha, he says even higher is one who can have this empathy for other living beings. Because we know if there's happiness or distress, we know how we feel. And being able to have that empathy for others and then understand their suffering and their happiness and help them overcome their suffering and help towards their happiness is a real goal of every devotee. So it's not, in other words, it's not just one's own personal selfish interest. The very satisfaction of a devotee comes from being able to give the same happiness they feel to others. So it's not a selfish act. Because sometimes even in devotional service we can become selfish. But here Krishna is clearly recommending that one who is the highest kind of devotee is who understands that, look, I became happy by this process of Krishna consciousness, so I cannot just keep it to myself. So it's not just about me. It's about Krishna and all other living beings. So one tries to please Krishna and serve all the living entities by giving that happiness. And it's also nice that unless one feels that happiness himself and then tries to give it out to others without that feeling, then that becomes a fanatic approach. There are many religious groups that just preach without actually realizing what the religious truths are. So they cause so much havoc in the world because the followers are not actually personally experiencing the happiness that Krishna is talking about in these verses. Without experiencing the happiness, if you just try to preach to others, you become a fanatic and you cannot really empathize with the others. You can't see how they are suffering, you cannot see how Krishna consciousness can make them happy. So one has to personally experience that happiness. And our dear Siksha Guru Mukunda Datta Prabhu, he always says, preaching is communicating your rasa. In other words, you need to have the feelings of devotion in your heart by your own personal service to Guru and Krishna, and you are sharing that happiness or feeling by giving it to others. So that's the perfect balance where you don't try to be external or you don't try to be too internal. You try to find the balance of both. You be internal and the internal joy overflows to the external. So that's how we accommodate both. And this idea of selfless service is wonderfully described in this book by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. This book is called 4 Questions, recently published and distributed. I've been reading parts of this book, and especially this section. We'll see how much we can get through in the next 1 hour. So basically this consists of 4 questions to improve one's life. The first question is asking, what is my purpose? In any given situation, finding out one's purpose. And second is, how may I be of service? And third is, what is the lesson here? And fourth is, where am I investing my attention right now? So by asking these questions, one can improve their spiritual life. And today we are going to focus on the second question, how may I be of service? This is such a sweet chapter here. And it's beautiful. These are all directly statements from the scriptures. But Vaisheshika Prabhu's eloquence and his brilliance, you can see in the way he presents these beautiful teachings in such a simple language, accessible to somebody that doesn't have the context of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita and other scriptures. So I'll read and then we can pause and then reflect on these and then we can move. Hopefully the section we are going to read ends with this verse. So that's why I chose this verse for today. So this is question 2. How may I be of service? Our second question, how may I be of service, is powerful because according to the Bhakti teachings, we are inherently service givers. Our fundamental nature is to contribute to a greater good. Factually, our lives are meant for service. And when we embrace that idea, we feel happy. Srimad Bhagavatam 126 says that when we do unmotivated and uninterrupted service to our original conscious source, we feel satisfied. Unmotivated service means service for which we are not seeking any personal gain, not even recognition. Uninterrupted means that we continue our service despite obstacles. There's a beautiful line here. Paradoxically, serving without expecting recognition or reward is most rewarding. So service without expecting recognition or reward is most rewarding. So this is the paradox of bhakti. You don't want anything, but you get everything. When you only those who renounce everything actually get everything. Those who are trying to chase after things, they don't get everything. And there's the next long section. I'll just summarize that section and then we can move on to the remaining one. So basically, Prabhu beautifully puts these things. Choose your path, enjoyment, renunciation or dedication. Can you recognize what these words are in Sanskrit? Choose your path, enjoyment, renunciation or dedication. Yeah, like bhoga, tyaga, bhakti or karma, jnana, bhakti. You can see, like when you use those words, it becomes contextual and religious like that. But here, you can talk about these same ideas in such a nice general manner. So basically, Prabhupada also mentions in this purport these ideas. Either you can try to find happiness in a materialistic way of life, that's the enjoyment path, or you can try to renounce everything and become detached from everything, that's the path of renunciation. Or you find the middle path where you understand that there is a purpose for everything and then use everything in its purpose. So that's the path of dedication. By understanding and evolving our understanding, neither be too attached nor be too detached. Neither be too attached in the sense if there is a facility, then we don't think that is for my enjoyment. And similarly, when there is a facility to make others' life happy, we don't think, oh, I don't want to get involved in it because it's too entangling. Instead of that, find the middle balance. It's not for me, but I'm ready to engage with it for the sake of others. So that balance is the middle path of bhakti, the path of dedication, where we recognize everything actually belongs to Krishna, and my duty is to engage things in Krishna's service without getting attached. So that's our the teaching of Bhakti Yoga. And Prabhu very nicely mentions here, Bhakti Yoga, the path of dedication, helps us engage with the world in an enlightened way. As we move about the world, we can remain naturally balanced by dedicating our thoughts, words and activities to the service of the Supreme Person. Any thoughts before we move on? Any reflections you want to share? We have another 5 more sections. The last line. As we move about the world, we can remain naturally balanced by dedicating our thoughts, words, and activities to the service of the Supreme Person. So that's in other words, don't, for example, let's say you need a car to come to the temple. Either you can get too attached to the car and then just go around and forget the fact that you need to come to the temple. Or you say, oh, car is Maya, I don't want any materialistic thing. I don't want to go to the temple either because I don't want to use a car. So that's the extremes. One is getting attached and losing the purpose. Another is getting too detached and also losing the purpose. Whereas the right thing is, yes, I need a decent car to make my commute, but my goal is not the car, the goal is the temple. Like that. So when you use it in that service, even the car is material, but the car becomes spiritual because you're using it in the Lord's service. Then paying for the mortgage for the car or buying the car, that expense is also spiritual because you are not utilizing it for material selfish reasons. So in other words, everything that we have can be utilized for Krishna, and that is the path of bhakti. It's not about getting attached or getting detached. It's about finding the right purpose for everything. So that is the path of dedication. Or in other words, dedicating our energy, our resources, our thoughts, activities, everything to serve Krishna and glorify Krishna by giving Krishna to others. And so the next section is refining our service propensity. If you find yourself in a frustrating situation, which is not too rare, or feel you are caught in a whirlpool of anxiety and don't know how to get out, try asking yourself, how may I be of service? How can I serve in this situation? You will find clarity of mind, for the very question connects you to your Sanatan Dharma, your eternal nature. Sanatan means eternal, Dharma means our purpose, duty, or nature. As Bob Dylan sang, it may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're gonna have to serve somebody. There are lower forms of service, but they inhibit our progressive advancement in life. Many people, for instance, are servants of their senses. They live to eat, or are enslaved by addiction to one substance or other. Driven by the idea of attaining happiness through sensual enjoyment, our mind and senses impel us to act in various and often self-destructive ways. Rupa Goswami, after meeting Chaitanya, lamented, "For how long have I obeyed the bad masters that are my senses? They were always telling me what to do and I never questioned them. They never gave me time off. And they never gave me mercy. I will no longer obey them. Now I only ask for service to Krishna." So this is the wisdom of a devotee, that they know that whether they tried or not, but from the personal experience or from the experience of others or from the Shastra, they have the knowledge that whatever I do in a selfish manner is not going to give me the satisfaction. So that's actually being elaborated later. So here the main point is to ask what is the quality of our service. Yes, you can be of service, but are you really finding the happiness that we are looking for? So the solution comes in the next section. It's called selfless service. People have various motives for serving, one of which may be the expectation of something in return. But sincere selfless service means that one doesn't want anything for oneself. One is satisfied simply to serve. And such service to the Supreme, done purely for the sake of the service itself, without any expectation of recognition or reward, frees one from the control of the senses and promotes spiritual progress. Selfless service gives one a taste of natural satisfaction and happiness. By giving, one grows. By giving, one grows. Each line is so packed. with meaning, right? And here, Vaisheshika Prabhu gives a beautiful, very, very beautiful personal example of how this applied to in his own life. This principle came to life for me while I was living in a monastery. One morning, as a newly ordained monk, I was especially hungry. When the breakfast bell rang, I jumped up and ran to the dining hall with one thought in mind: I want to eat. When I arrived, however, there was a snag. The monk whose turn it was to serve breakfast that day was absent, and it was my duty to fill in for him. I was so hungry. The last thing I wanted to do was delay my eating and serve food to others. But then I remembered my teacher's advice to serve selflessly. So rather than give in to my stomach's demand to eat as soon as I could, I decided to try being fully present while serving the others. As soon as I began, I felt better. My hunger was replaced with a higher sense of satisfaction, which made a lasting impression on me. Serving selflessly was not just a slogan, it was a key to my happiness. Selfless service stems from love. Such service directed toward Krishna, our original divine source, is Bhakti Yoga. Just as watering the root of a tree nourishes all its branches, devotional service ensures the welfare of all aspects of our lives. Such a selfless perspective also properly adjusts our relationships with material resources. Those enlivened by this bhakti-infused consciousness naturally live by the principle of yukta vairagya, or feasible renunciation. They engage all their material resources in loving service to the Supreme. Whereas trying to own and exploit material things for one's own pleasure breeds anxiety and disappointment. Applying this principle of loving renunciation yields everlasting happiness. It's such a beautiful section. So I'll repeat this line again. My hunger was replaced with a higher sense of satisfaction, which made me a lasting impression on me. Serving selflessly was not just a slogan, it was a key to my happiness. So you can see happiness is not just it's not a physical state, it's also a mental state. Sometimes we may be thinking physically I am so tired, or physically I am hungry. That's true. But then Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita elsewhere, the mind is higher than the senses. So the senses are having a certain feeling, but then the mind can overcome that feeling of even physical things like hunger by finding a higher purpose. So that's what happened to Prabhu in this example, that even though he was hungry, he replaced that hunger with this higher satisfaction of serving others. So when you're able to make that change in our mind, then we have solved the physical problem without even eating. In other words, the demands of the senses to eat can be subdued by this higher power of mind. And that can come only by approaching a selfless service attitude. So which is why you can say many times we may not have access to all the physical resources that we need or that we think we need to be happy. But by adjusting the mind to be satisfied with what we have, we can be happy in any situation, whether we have something physically or not. So you can see there's a very important principle here. It's not because we always focus on physical things, but mind is much more subtle, and we can solve things at the mental level also, even if we may or may not have the physical resources. Any comments, any reflections on this point? Yes, you want a mic?
Hare Krishna. So is it the mind or the intelligence or the consciousness that's coming into picture here?
Actually, all three are there, one above other. So Krishna says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyabhya paramanaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. He says the senses are higher than the dull matter. And higher than senses is the mind. And higher than the mind is the intelligence. And higher than the intelligence is the Atma or the self. Consciousness. So whatever we are talking about senses and mind, same thing can be applied between mind and intelligence. For example, the mind says, only if I have this, I'll be happy. Yeah. But the intelligence says, no, this is not good for you. You can be happy without it. And through intelligence, we can control the mind. And similarly, the intelligence may be thinking, I want to enjoy in a certain way, or I want this particular thing in order to feel good and all that. But the soul, the Atma, if we are connected to Krishna, then we ask the question, okay, how is this related to Krishna? How is this going to be helpful in my service to Krishna? By asking that question and by connecting to Krishna, we can even overcome impure intelligence. Sometimes the intelligence is smart but not pure. But by connecting to Krishna, we can purify the intelligence. And okay, if Krishna wants, I can do something that I would not do normally. And if Krishna doesn't want, if Krishna wants, I'll do something that I would not do normally. And if Krishna wants, I may not do something that I would do normally. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not, what Krishna wants. So that is the level of consciousness called Krishna consciousness. So that's what the whole Bhagavad Gita is helping us think about our priorities, our needs, everything. Think about our life in terms of how is it a service to Krishna? How am I pleasing Krishna by my activities? By just keeping that singular focus, it's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. By keeping the singular focus on how is this going to please Krishna, we find answers to everything else in life. So that's called the highest form of intelligence. Vyavasayatmika Buddhir ekeha kurunandana.
Can you give an example from your life where you experienced it?
Maybe, there are others that can give that example. I'm sure you'll get the answer, but Pavani Bhaktimati, do you want to share?
Can you repeat your question?
Like he's talking about, we have senses, then mind, intelligence, consciousness, and then when we are serving just for Krishna, if the focus is Krishna, then that is all that matters. So I was asking him everyday life example where you experienced it.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Definitely, if you see Bhagavad Gita, there's a picture of the horses, right? And the senses are the horses. So each horse is a sense, eyes, ear, mouth, and all that. And the reins are the mind. So we control the horses with our mind. And the person who is driving the horse is the intelligence. And the passenger is us, the soul. So in our day-to-day life, if we can dovetail everything to Krishna, then we see more higher satisfaction. As he was saying that we all have propensity to serve, as Maharaj writes in his books, but we are serving all the wrong masters. We are serving our family, we are serving our children, we are serving our country, we are serving our society, community. Yes, that's all good, but in the end, what we really get is not real happiness. We get happiness, but it's very flickering and temporary. The real happiness that comes is because eternally our soul is serving Krishna. The real happiness comes to us only if we serve Krishna. And that's more permanent in nature than in temporary nature. So when we engage our day-to-day life, like if you are a computer scientist, if you engage your skills in computer science to do something in Krishna consciousness, or if you cannot do that, if you can at least donate that money that you earn from your work, then you will gain higher satisfaction than the mundane work that you would day-to-day do. It will not give you complete satisfaction. Complete satisfaction only comes when we do things which the soul is eternally doing and which is serving Krishna.
An example?
example, my own life. I'm a computer scientist. I'm a program manager in my regular life. I use my program management skills to managing programs that Shraddha Mataji gives me or Maharaj gives me. And I just manage those programs. And I am like, I came to know that I'm really good in like talking with people and, making friendship in a very genuine way. A lot of people complimented me for that, and I used my skills to help the newcomers because they find like I'm very genuine, and all that I do is just be myself and just serve people, and then that gives me the most happiness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, so actually the hall is filled with such devotees, so we can talk to them afterwards and find more examples like that. Our Ramanand Saka Prabhu is another wonderful example. So you always see him at the temple, right? So he had a full-time job in Oracle for so many years, and so accomplished, such a senior engineer, and he just felt that I actually enjoy more serving Krishna than working here, and I don't have a need to work. And then he joined the temple full-time several years back, and he doesn't have any inclination or motivation to even go out of the temple. He's fully satisfied serving Krishna every day, waking up Krishna in the morning, putting him to bed in the night, and serving him throughout the day, taking care of the temple, keeping everything clean and neat and punctual, and this entire audio system with this, the precision of the sound. It's like Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. Actually, if he had come to ISV, he would have told, I'm the quality of the sound at ISV. So it's like, that's such pure, pristine quality, you can say. That's all his engineering. It's not coming by chance, There's so much of his engineering skills he has used here. But he's so humble and so approachable and completely unassuming. Nobody knows about it. How many of you even know his name? Right? Yeah. So very few people even know his name, but so many people benefit from his service. So that's why Prabhu says here, selfless service is not expecting anything in return, not even recognition. Because sometimes we may do everything, I don't want any money or anything, but we want to be at least known that we did that service. And even that is a subtle material desire. And not even having that is such an example. And we also have our Krishangi Gopi Mataji. Her eyes are always half closed like Lord Shiva. That's because she rarely sleeps. She's always stretching herself to more than 200% of what she can do. And she's always serving. So it's all these beautiful garlands that the deities are wearing, Srila Prabhupada is wearing. She and her entire team make that. And in fact, if you learn more about her, you may not even want Krishna consciousness. Because you may think that, wow, this is what I'm expected to do. Because her level of surrender and devotion, like for us, for many of us, sleep is such an important thing, right? Sleep, if some people, if you sleep too much, you become lazy, and if you sleep too less, you become crazy, right? So it's very hard to give up sleep. But like for her, service is done. Doesn't matter, eating, sleeping, everything is secondary. She can stretch herself for hours and days together, what is needed for the service, and not expecting any recognition, not advertising to the world, I am doing this, that. Hardly anybody knows about her service also, like that. So there are so many examples in this room of devotees giving their life for Krishna every single day. And that's what shows that this process is working. Otherwise, if they are not getting the satisfaction from serving Krishna, why are they doing it day after day? She does a regular job as a scientist, and then she comes and cooks at the temple 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all other opportunities. And she operates a sound system from time to time, and she does all the garlands, and she does so many other services we don't know about. So that's, like a maxing out one's capacity and like living blissfully in service. That's the one time devotee told one of my teachers that we devotees, we don't have any time at all. He was complaining. And that Prabhu told, no, it's not that we don't have time. We have time, we use all the time for Krishna. That's why we don't have time. Because as devotees, sometimes we feel we don't have time for anything. Right? Actually, it's good to feel like that, because if you have time for something, that means you're going to waste that most likely. Better to not have any time and be always in need of more time. Then that means we are fully maxing out our capacity to serve. And then Krishna will give us more capacity. I know after Mataji came, the quality of garlands at ISV has, like grown exponentially, and Vaisheshika Prabhu mentions that pretty much, in every class. And she now engages such a large team of devotees who are so patiently doing that. So when you come and observe it, it's a work of art. Every single garland, every single petal, every single petal is hand-picked and then kept at that point. Why would somebody, take the trouble to do all that week after week, month after month, year after year? It's because they get that satisfaction from serving Krishna that way. So these are all, like, as I said, there are so many examples here. So the next section is why we don't get the satisfaction. So this is titled The Road to Dissatisfaction and How to Reverse It. That's the next section. To achieve happiness by taking oneself out of the context, so out of the center, might at first seem counterintuitive. How can I be served? One might wonder. Why aren't more people serving me? My children aren't serving me well enough. My spouse isn't doing enough for me. My friends aren't doing enough for me. And the government isn't doing enough for me. Why don't they do more? Beware, such false expectations guarantee disappointment. Another question that can lead one in the wrong direction is, how can I get more comfortable in life? Of course, we need a modicum of comfort. As Srila Prabhupada writes, to keep themselves fit, Bhakti yogis must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life. But what constitutes a normal condition varies from person to person. We must have what we need to be comfortable enough to go on asking good questions. But if we make comfort our priority, we are fated to live in frustration, as the material world is not designed to serve such a purpose. One cannot wrest lasting satisfaction from fleeting pleasures. This is the rest, W-R-E-S-T, like a wrestle. One cannot wrest lasting satisfaction from fleeting pleasures. This axiomatic truth is also backed by modern science. In the 2012 documentary Happy, filmmaker Rocco Bellic chronicles psychologists' findings on happiness. His film addresses what is known as the hedonic treadmill, that whatever material gains a person achieves, he or she quickly becomes accustomed to them and wants more. The joy of buying a new car is short-lived because of all the anxieties that come with its maintenance. What's more, the law of diminishing returns says that buying a second new car will bring even less of that fleeting joy than one received upon buying the first one. The ancient yoga wisdom literatures point out that materialism is not limited to buying things. All activities based on sense pleasure share this temporality and subsequent inability to provide the eternal happiness for which everyone hankers. I'll read the last statement again. All activities based on sense pleasure share this temporality and subsequent inability to provide the eternal happiness for which everyone hankers. Prabhu is paraphrasing this verse. What is that, 522? The Raman. Yehi sangsparshaja bhoga dukkha yone evate adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Material happiness by definition has a start and an end. And anything that has a start and an end cannot satisfy the soul, because when it ends, the soul keeps hankering for more. So that means the source of our happiness cannot come from this material realm. It has to come from the spiritual realm. And so how do we reverse this dissatisfaction that we are feeling? So that's the next section. We can reverse our dissatisfaction by asking ourselves how we may be of service. Bhakti Yoga texts explain that the best way to engage the mind is to train it to always be thinking of how to do good for others. In his popular book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie touches on a similar point. The world is full of people who are grabbing and self-seeking. So the rare individual who unselfishly tries to serve others has an enormous advantage. Basically, we don't have much competition. So we can serve to our heart's content and, find a lot of satisfaction in serving selflessly. The service attitude gives us the advantage of removing ourselves from the center. When we serve, we relieve the pressure and frustration that results from living as though everything revolves around us. Ask yourself this question: how may I be of service? By asking this question, we rise above the false expectations that breed disappointment. We are then reinstated in our natural happy state of consciousness. So here, the beautiful point, I'll repeat this again. The service attitude gives us the advantage of removing ourselves from the center. So this is exactly opposite to what we want. We think by being in the center, actually we can be happy and control things. But once you have enough experience, you'll see it's not true. And actually I was thinking about giving the class today. Others may, when you are not giving the class, you may think it's joy to give a class, and it's cool to be sitting here and giving the class. But when you prepare for the class, you know what austerity it is, and how every day we enjoy just sitting in the audience and then listening to the class when somebody gives. Right? When you have to give the class, again, the main thing is about respecting others' time and the fact that they are giving their time, and for you to contribute something that's worthy of their time. That is a huge responsibility. It's not about like having an attention of people respecting you, or having any sort of name or fame, but it's about doing the justice to their time and their attention. That is very, very important. So it's a lot of responsibility. So I was already nervous, and then I saw Shraddha Mataji coming here 10 minutes before the class, and my nervousness increased even more, because these are all such busy devotees that are trying to use every minute for Krishna's service, and now we have to do something to justify their time. So that's a big responsibility. So I can see this, particularly today, I can relate to this point. The service attitude gives the advantages of removing ourselves from the center. So if you don't have to be in the center, it's so much blissful. And then this next section is so beautiful. See through the eyes of service. I think we'll finish with this, and maybe if you have some more reflections, we can take. It's a nice story here. I once saw a short film about a man whose morning didn't go well. Every aspect of his routine annoyed him, starting with a burned out light bulb and an empty tube of toothpaste. Nothing in the house seemed to work. When the man was backing out of his driveway, a kid on the skateboard cut him off. And the man thought, why does that kid always go behind me when I'm pulling out? Hasn't he got a brain? At his usual coffee shop, there was a long line. I have to wait so long, he complained to himself. This is horrible. Someone cut in front of him, and he thought, why is she so inconsiderate? The barista seemed to take forever, and by the time the man finally got his coffee and sat down, he felt totally frustrated. At that moment, a stranger walked up to him, handed him a pair of glasses, and said, please try these on. The camera then pans to the label on the glasses, the case of the glasses, which says, eyes of service, eyes eyes of service. So he wore the glasses. So when the man put on the glasses, he could see that everyone he had encountered was grappling with some problem. He could see a digital readout on each person's chest that showed the specific problem each of them was facing. The kid who rode to the skateboard behind his car was in hyperactive state due to a lack of attention from his family. The woman had absent-mindedly cut him off because she had just found out that her husband had cancer. The barista who was struggling to overcome a drug addiction, the barista was struggling to overcome a drug addiction but was trying his best to cheerfully serve the customers. Upon seeing the plight of each person he had met, the man felt an urge to do something to help them. His mind and heart transformed. His frustration abated. He could see that the inconveniences he had felt were trivial, and a smile came over his face. Through the glasses, he now saw the people whom he had perceived as offensive to be fellow travelers facing the same kinds of struggle as he. As the impulse to help these people increased, so too did his sense of purpose, peace of mind, and happiness. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 6:32, he is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. You can see how relevant it is to this verse, right? So if only we knew what others are going through, then we can have more empathy and more patience and more tolerance and all that. It's very different putting ourselves in other shoes, how we think about it. So normally when we think from our own viewpoint, we have a certain conception and we get frustrated, as was given in this example. But when we learn to see everybody's activities from their viewpoint, then it helps us understand their feelings better. And then even if we cannot change the situation, as in this case, but how we perceive it and how we let it affect us, we can change that. And being able to do that is the change of consciousness. That's the essence of Krishna consciousness. By putting Krishna in the center and seeing the world through the eyes of Krishna, or through the eyes of service, as mentioned here, then we can actually solve the problem. We are not changing the situation, but we are not affected by it anymore. So in that sense, we can solve the problem. And this is why Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is the only real solution to all problems. We may not be able to change the actual situation. We try to change the actual situation in order to solve the problems. But Prabhupada gives a very easy formula. Just by changing your consciousness, you can solve the problem. You don't have to change the actual situation, which you may or may not be able to do. But by elevating one's consciousness, one is not disturbed by the same situation that disturbs one at a lower level of consciousness. So I was so amazed at this, both the example and how Prabhu quotes this verse as a wonderful way of understanding this point of empathy. So any comments? I'm sure go ahead, Mukaravinda Prabhu. You have a mic?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for bringing such a nice discussion. And I had one question where the paragraph we read, the service attitude gives an advantage of removing ourselves from the center. But we often see that actually when we do service, we have to come to the center. As you are also explaining that this is a service you are doing, but you have to come to the center to do that service. So how we do that service that we are not in the center, because you had to be in the center, as you had organized such a big event, 3,000 people, devotee sadhu sangha retreat. You had to be the center so that things moves properly. So how to adjust that both, that you don't want to be center but you have to be in center?
Thank you. So as the answer is actually in the question. Actually, That's why Vaisheshika Prabhu starts this book by saying the questions are the answers, right? So you can say the answer is the question that he is asking us to ask: how can I be of service? So how I may be of service in this situation? So that's the answer. So if we don't approach it from a service mode, there are only two modes, right? Either you are the enjoyer or Krishna is the enjoyer. So if service means recognizing Krishna as the enjoyer and being in that mood of service. If not, the same propensity Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita, it's the lust and love. So our original, whatever Shakti we have, whatever faculties we have, they're all meant for serving Krishna out of love. And if we don't use it for love, then it becomes lust. And then we use it for ourselves for self-aggrandizement and putting ourselves in the center and forgetting the service attitude, and then benefiting from whatever recognition we might have gained from our past service attitude. So we have to constantly keep this mood of how can I be of service, and that is the only way you can take up responsibility, but not become like affected by the name and fame or by the attention that it brings. Again, that's why the earlier path, Prabhu was talking about this enjoyment, renunciation, and the dedication. So, in one sense, you can say, I don't want to do anything and then be aloof from it. But that's also not the proper use of the faculties that Krishna has given you. So, you cannot use it for yourself, you cannot leave it out also. That means you have to use it for the right purpose, and that balance can be struck only with this question: how can I be of service? Actually, in a very practical manner, this is a very, very important question, and there's very important attitude, because there are situations, especially when you manage anything, there'll always be different viewpoints, different people's needs, there'll be conflicting priorities and all that. So it's very easy to lose one's the spiritual perspective, and then treat it as a material logistics affair and try to make decisions based on that, or try to address things based on that. But then you lose the whole spirit of the service. So we have to do it as a matter of service. So always bringing back the service attitude. And the beauty is, many times the moment we remember that I'm a servant, then automatically the right decisions follow that consciousness. For example, when somebody asks for some things, you might have normally said no. But when you think that I'm here to serve them, then you come up with a solution automatically that achieves the material logistics goals that you want without affecting them, but it achieves the outcome and also serves them. Whereas when you are in the mood of a master or a controller, such ideas don't come to you, because you'll be thinking, okay, I cannot do this, how can I do this? If this is the policy, or this is how I want to do. Like that selfishness kicks in, and then you're blocked from so many potential solutions that are a win-win, like that. You see what I mean? And also Krishna reveals those things according to our consciousness. And again, I can also trace back, some of the mistakes we did in this year's Sadhu Sangha. I can trace back to my lack of proper consciousness to serve. So it works both ways. When you have the consciousness, you can see Krishna facilitates the service. When you don't have the consciousness, it turns into problems. So it works both ways. So.
Thank you, Prabhu. And the second question I had, that the story that you read out, the person got the glass of service, and through that he could see that everyone going through something. In our day-to-day life, what is the practical suggestion you can say that, so that we don't assume also, because I don't know how to get that. I tried to search in Amazon, but I could not get that glass to buy. That I can find out what people are going through in their life, and that can help me to better frame my response. So what are the things you'll suggest so that we have that proper, the eyes of the glass that Maharaj was mentioning in this?
Right. Yeah, the Actually, Krishna gives that answer in the first part of his verse. Can we bring up that verse again, if Prabhu is there? That's why he says, Atma upamena, like by comparison to one's own self. So, we may not know the other's feeling, but if we put ourselves in the shoe, then we can estimate what will we feel. No. Like when we are on one side, we don't see the other person on the other side, right? But when we put ourselves in their shoes, then we can understand how it works. So I'll give an example. So I was recently teasing Rasika, so my wife. So there were complaints this year that people were cutting the line at Sadhu Sangha, like that, and we didn't do much about it because already we were like overwhelmed with so many other problems. So people cutting the line with that, okay, it's not much we can do. Devotees have to know those things themselves. So we were discussing about cutting the line, and when did you cut the line yesterday? Was it yesterday or? Huh? Okay, maybe yesterday or Rasika said, I'm going to cut the line and get the prasadam first. When was it? At the wedding in Laguna. So we were there for I told Rasika, we just discussed about not cutting the line. But she says, no, but I have to go with Maharaj for service, like that. So that's an example. I was teasing her, like, when we are in the management side, we don't understand that, yes, some people have genuine need because of their services to do something. We may be observing only the one side of it. We don't. That's what this eyes of service example teaches us. Put yourself in their shoes. Maybe they just even give the, like Vaisheshika Prabhu says, like suspend the disbelief, right? Like, in other words, give the benefit of doubt. Maybe they have a genuine reason to do that. Again, not all reasons are genuine, because there are some people that, really do it out of lack of culture. But at the same time, we can also recognize that there are people who have a genuine reason for service, and because of that, again, it's following a higher principle and sacrificing a lower principle to follow a higher principle, right? If you have to drive your spiritual master and he's waiting for you and you are waiting in the line, that's not the right thing. At the time, yes, even if you get a bad name, better to cut the line and do it for his service, like that. So there is that balance. Again, even there, it's a question of not whether I want to eat first or not. It's priority based on what is my service here, like that. So it's always when you think in terms of service, you get the answer. And I was talking about the empathy. So when we are in this side, we may not realize what the other people are going through. So it's usually when we have the benefit of doubt and then talk to them and find out, then we can come up with meaningful exceptions, how we can allow them and things like that. So that's again handling the situation with the mode of service. Sorry, Mataji, go ahead. You have a microphone for Shraddha Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. It was worth coming 15 minutes early. I could not hold the anticipation. I was telling my husband, you have to leave home at 2:30. I just can't afford to be late, and I've been rewarded for that. Just to continue on with the service-oriented classes, I also wanted to mention here that when we see somebody is at the center, like, at Sadhu Sangha, people might think Rasika Shiromani Mataji and you are at the center and enjoying all the accolades, but you know it within your heart that how difficult it is to manage such a huge yatra. And then again, how not to be at the center. I was thinking that you're doing it as a service to Indradyam Swami Maharaj. So, that question doesn't even arise. We might, as onlookers, think that you're at the center, but for you, it is not. You're looking at it in a very, very different manner. And I was thinking that this attitude of putting yourself in other people's shoes is so important for us when we are preaching, right? That if somebody comes and says, I just can't chant 16 rounds, and then we start, going on the stage pedestal, and from there preaching, we should put ourselves in their shoes and see how we would have reacted, and that's, put on those service-oriented glasses. And actually, Krishna is actually making it sound so difficult, and he has a reason for that in this chapter, that he doesn't want him to go the Dhyan Yoga route. And so after a few verses, then Arjuna is going to start complaining, Chanchalam hi mana, Krishna is going to say that. And then immediately after that, Krishna is God. He could have just stood up and said that, Mahabaho, you should do it, or something like that. He says that, yes, without a doubt, I understand, that it is difficult to control the mind. So he's putting himself in Arjuna's place, and he says, it is difficult, acknowledges the discomfort. And then Arjuna will be willing to listen to the next sentence, which he says, but you can do it.
Right.
But it's very, very important, and in all aspects of life. And what Vaisheshika Prabhu says always is mukhe prasadat. So when you see somebody is not chanting, or you think somebody is not a devotee, don't speak that extra 20% that Maharaj says. It's very, very important. So I just thought I'll share and add on to that.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Pavani Bhakti Mataji.
I have a question, Prabhu, especially for your personal, from your life. If you can share, when you choose a life of selfless service and you continuously do it non-stop, day after day, how do you charge yourself up? How do you take care of yourself?
I mean, actually, the first part of the question is not true. I don't, stretch or extend myself that much. So, but maybe Rasika can explain. She does that actually. As you can see, she's still so tired from the retreat, and actually there was a group of all the Kirtaniyas and the special guests, so she wrote in one of them that tomorrow so-and-so is giving class. And then Nirokula Mataji got confused and said, no, wasn't this the schedule? And then she realized that this message was sent at like 2 a.m. So it's still previous day for Rasika. And then when Mataji saw that, she understood that, okay, it's still, she's telling from that context. I told Rasika, you should not use the words like tomorrow, yesterday, all these things, because her day never ends.
It's not like that. So, Mataji, your question...
How do you recharge?
I mean, to be honest, personally, I'm not necessarily thinking how to recharge. I'm just doing. I tell my husband I'm like a puppet who goes from this action to the next action to the next action. That's how I'm going on event after event. I should stop and take a moment and do those things to recharge, but I'm not necessarily doing them. Right?
Yeah. I mean, she's still, she hasn't recharged yet. I mean, her greatest source of inspiration is coming to ISV, and I mean, it's actually an opulence to come here and having, to do nothing, just relish the association of devotees. Having a normal day like that is so rare and so blessed, That's the best recharge we have. Yes. You had a question or something?
Yeah,
comment?
No. On that point of seeing from others' perspective, right? I was just thinking, Srila Prabhupada exhibited that in several circumstances, that when sometimes devotees were not able to follow things, or they went away and came back, he was always considerate because he looked at it from their situation, and he did not think because he was a pure devotee, but he did not think from his level. But then he was very kind, and then he appreciated that they came back, and then he was welcoming everyone, and he was telling his disciples also how we should accommodate them.
Right.
So he always saw from their perspective.
Very good point. Actually, that's very, very valid point, because many of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, if you look at the books, they always talk about the highest ideal, highest goal. And when Prabhupada was practicing it, he was always lenient and giving room for everybody to grow from where they are. So if devotees don't understand that both aspects of Prabhupada, they could either become fanatic and try to just follow the literal thing without following his personal example, or they may just take the personal example without the goal and use it as an excuse and not be strict. So we should avoid both extremes by taking everything Srila Prabhupada did in consideration and applying the teaching. That's why there's Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. You cannot just take one and leave out the other. You need to take them together and then understand the teachings in that way. So, yeah.
And another point we were discussing, remember, you were talking about following rules and things like that. So one of the examples I remembered, in Sadhu Sangha, we have a bunch of rules so that the event is managed properly, so that people who had planned and registered and come for the event, they are taken care nicely, and we don't give up the service to them while taking care of the 2% or 1% of people who are not unplanned. So that's why we have these rules, but then still those situations happen. So what, at least from our side, what we try to do is, we explain to them why we have the rules and all that, make them wait a little bit so that they understand that they don't do the same, but then finally help them come to the event or get their room and take care of those things. But we make sure that they appreciate the need for those rules, but then tell them like what it is causing us or to someone else, so that in the future they will try to follow them.
Right. Yeah. Actually, if you look at many of the rules, they are not as per the Vaishnava standard. If you look, the Panihati festival is coming in 2 weeks, right? If you remember the Panihati festival, the description of that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it started out small, and then the devotees were joining, and then they were cooking more of the chipped rice and the yogurt and making more and more, and then there was no space to stand, and then people were standing even on the banks of the Ganges and then honoring the prasadam. That's always our ideal. How do we serve devotees without any rules and restrictions? But on the other hand, there's practical limits in doing it in a Western setting like that. So that's why these verses, this description of being in the service mode always helps us to keep the goal, and then to the extent we are able to come there, to the extent we can follow the teachings. So we should never lose sight of the principles in the name of details. Yes, pray, Kishori.
So we are speaking about how, as the organizers, you have the, even though you may be in the center, you have the ability to see from how can I be of service, but us, or at least myself, being on the complete other side of the spectrum, which is a participant in the event. Even then, in order for the festival to function fully and to even get the experience of being able to sit in those kirtans and receive the holy name, I realized that I also have to have that mood of how can I be of service, because when we come from such cozy, small environments of temples from different parts of the world, we have our own socio-Krishna conscious ways of functioning through groups. But then you have thousands, 2,000s of devotees with their own, forms of consciousness that might come, and maybe in your community cutting a line was okay, and maybe I know such and such who knows such and such who can get me the prasadam without the tag, scanning, or whatever that might be. And then I noticed in myself how I feel like a controller in my own little world, and all of that was exposed when I was amongst so many devotees. And then I realized, if I really want to feel like I'm getting the most out of this experience, there's thousands of small decisions that I would need to make in cooperation with these devotees, so everybody can do it together, and we would all feel like we're getting prasadam on time, or we're able to sit peacefully without trash, or whatever that might be. So that's something.
That's a very wonderful point, actually. Very brilliant point. And that's why Prabhupada always says, in Krishna consciousness, you only get what you put in, right? So if you are putting in this service mode, then you get that back. So you get rewarded for that. right? So to that degree we focus on the right things, to that degree we get back like that. So yeah, I think we have only one more minute. Maybe we can take one last comment. Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the nice discussion. Prabhuji, when it comes to asking the question of how can I serve you, right? There may be situations where the opposite person could be materially motivated, right? And you may get exploited in certain situations. So how do you overcome those situations? And if you try to judge the person, that is also not good, right? So how do you overcome these kind of situations?
Okay, so the section after next, it starts with answer to your question. Again, the answer is a question. Won't we become everybody's doormat if we are always just trying to serve? Right? That's your question, right? How do we balance? Yeah. So I'm not going to read the answer so that you get the book. And also, this book is like $10, and we kind of gave you 1/4 of it, one of the 4 questions mostly. So please, if you haven't bought the book, pay $2.5 to Shraddha Mataji. Just joking. But yeah, you can get a book. Who has a Mukarvinda? You have the copies of the book? You have it outside. Yeah, please get this book. It's so easy to read and understand these timeless teachings. And so that section answers this question, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you very much. Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Vaisheshika Prabhu. Anantakoti Vaishnavanda ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Satarine. Namaste. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Govinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Govinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Hare. Gopal Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govinda. Everyone. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya 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 Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya. Everyone. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Everyone. Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajagacharya Stotrashad, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur ki Devi Tulsi Maharani ki Gamai Jamuna Mai ki Namaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Transcendental Book Distribution, Prasadam Distribution. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol.
तो नरसिंहा पर तो नरसिंहा ई तो नरसिंहा पर तो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो वाही नरसिंहा हृदये वाही नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमनं शरणं प्रपद्ये नरसिंहमनं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलभरे नखमधुपशङ्का दलितहिरण्यकशिपतिगनुबिम्बा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरे नखमधुपशृङ्गा दलितहिरण्यकशिपुतनुबिम्बा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare. Please have a seat for a few minutes. We'll make a quick announcement and then we will have the prasadam. So thank you all for joining us for today's Sunday Feast Festival here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley on a very warm and sunny Sunday. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone who has joined us tonight. Hare Hare Bol. We would also like to thank all our online audience who have joined us tonight for the program. Let's give them a big round of applause as well. Today's discourse on the topic of the 4 questions that His Grace Vaisheshik Prabhu's book is brought to us by His Grace Govinda Charan Prabhu. So let's give him a big round of applause. Hari Bol. And thank him for a wonderful and enlivening discussion. Hare Hare Bol. We'll also like to thank His Grace Jai Kanaya Prabhu for leading Aarti. He's not there. Okay. Hare Hare Bol. And Anushri for leading a Narsimha Aarti. Anyone coming to ISV for the first time? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have quite a few devotees here joining us tonight. For if you have any questions or if we could be of any assistance, please reach out to me. My name is Sri Gopal Das or Sachindra Prabhu. You'll find him at the serving table, or Priya Kishori. We will be happy to hear. She's at the back. So we'll be happy to assist you in any way we can. Thank you. And let's chant one Mahamantra for all the newcomers who have joined us tonight. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have 3 sponsors for tonight's feast. The first is His Grace Govinda Charan Prabhu and Her Grace Rasika Mataji are sponsoring in the memory of Govinda Charan Prabhu's mother, which happens to be today her Shraddha ceremony. So they are sponsoring in the memory of his mother. So Govinda Charan Prabhu and Rasika Mataji, are you here? Maybe they are outside. Let's thank them in there. Oh, Govinda Charan Prabhu is here. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Actually, it's my mother's passing away that brought me to Krishna consciousness 25 years back. So we request all the devotees to just say a prayer for her whenever you can, so that wherever she is, she continues in her spiritual journey to Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. We can see that, she has given us a very wonderful son who is doing amazing service here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley and all over the US and, beyond. So thank you, Prabhu. And we know that she is a very special soul. Thank you. Hare Krishna. The next sponsor is Akhil Sorinke Prabhu, is sponsoring on the occasion of his father's birthday. Is he here? Akhil Prabhu? Okay, if not, we can let's thank him in his absentia for the sponsorship. Hare Krishna. We'll also like to thank yesterday's feast sponsor. We happen to not acknowledge that, so we would like to acknowledge Pulkesh Roy Prabhu, who sponsored yesterday's feast in the memory of his late father. It happened to be his death anniversary, passing away anniversary yesterday. So we would like to acknowledge Pulkesh Roy Prabhu for his sponsorship. So let's give him a big round of applause and thank him for the sponsorship. Hare Krishna. So what's coming up at ISV? Next week is His Holiness Romapad Maharaj is visiting ISV, and he will be giving discourse both on Saturday morning, Bhagavatam class, and Sunday evening. So please do come both on Saturday and Sundays. We'll send out the details in the email very soon. Hare Krishna. Haribol. And also the week after next week, that is the week of June 22nd, is His Grace Madhav Prabhu is coming visiting ISV, and he's going to have a Kirtan concert in San Francisco at Grace Cathedral. That is on June 22nd. That's on Saturday. And Sunday, he will be here at ISV. And of course, on Saturday morning, as usual, Radhika, Her Grace Radhika Mataji will be giving the discourse, Saturday morning discourse. So please, please wait for the email details. We will send out more details in the email. Not this week, but the next week. Hare Krishna. There is, we have, as you see in the $1 million wall, we have a lot of lost and found items that are kept in the basket. $1 million wall, yeah. So, see if you can find if you find, something that has been lost, because we're going to empty out the lost and found sometime this coming midweek. So please see if you can find your lost and found items. Hare Krishna. The last announcement is we're going to acknowledge His Grace Charunimai Prabhu for bringing up the broadcast streaming for all our online audience. So let's give him a big round of applause and thank him. Haribol. So we'll have some announcement from Sukeshwari Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, everybody who have already enrolled their children into the summer camp that starts from June 17th to June 28th. We are very fortunate that His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, who is a wonderful storyteller and also an author for several of the kids' books based on Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, he will be personally here to, narrate these beautiful stories to your children. If interested, please do reach out to me. We have some flyers outside there. Don't miss this opportunity. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.
Thank you, Mataji. So now we will, Arman will announce the cooks for tonight's feast.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The lead cook for today's prasadam was Ananda Vrindavan Mataji, and she was helped by Shyama Bhakta Prabhu, Shyama Karuna Mataji, Divyanand Prabhu, Hitesh Prabhu, Gopi Priya Mataji, Tarini Mataji, Tapo Maya Prabhu, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Laksh, Abhay, Vaishnavi, Brajaras Pavana Prabhu, Advait, Prema Kishori Mataji, Sonia Mataji, Arushi Mataji, Sachindra Krishna Prabhu, Raghav, Amira, and Vedant. So let's give a big round of applause for all of our cooks.
Now we'll go to Prasad Sevya prayers. Hare Krishna. Anyone would like to say from the kids? No one is here. Okay. Brajaras Bhavana Prabhu. Haribol.
Sharira Vidya Jal Jodendriya Tahe Kal Jibe Phele Vishaya Sagore Tar Madhe Jivayati Lobhamay Sudurmati Take Jita Kathina Samsare Krishna Bada Doyamoy Kori Bade Jibhajay Saprasad Annadi Lobha Seyanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Premera Koji Chaitanya Nita Premera Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Svalpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwaso Nivajayate Prasade Sarva Dukkhana Adirasyo Vajayate Prasanna Chetaso Yashu Vipaya Vatishtate Vayopa Bhutta Sakanda Asalakara Charjita Uchishta Bodhino Dasa Stalamayam Dayemahi Shushkam Paryushitam Kapi Nitam Bhagavadeshata Prati Matrena Bhoktavyam Matrakala Vicharana Nadesha Niyamastatra Nakala Niyamastatha Praptamannamritam Shishtair Bhoktavyam Harirapravi Shri Mahaprasadam Ki. Please come take prasadam outside. Hare Krishna.